meeting of the Duncanville Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We will now take action for closed session. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation of the superintendent as presented in closed session of the administrative appointment of Director of Innovation?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, Tom Kennedy moved and Carla Fahey seconded to approve. Are there any questions, comments, or discussions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passed 5-0.
And we will bring up our candidate to the board.
Very good. And you will handle that? Dr. Smith will introduce the candidate.
So I want to call Ms. Kathleen Brown up and make introductions for our new Director of Innovation.
Okay. Good evening, Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees. It is my pleasure to introduce you all to Dr. Crystal Rentz. Dr. Rentz, if you'll join me at the podium. Dr. Rentz joined the field of education in 2001. Since that time, she has been in 7 countries teaching. Most recently, she's been serving as Director of Summer Learning and Extended Day Services in Dallas ISD. So she brings a wealth of knowledge and experience as we embark upon innovation here in Duncanville ISD. It is our pleasure to have her join the Duncanville family. Dr. Rentz?
Superintendent Dr. Smith and Board of Trustees, it is such an honor to be a part of the Duncanville team. I'm excited about innovation as a whole. Many of you probably saw my son wheeling in his little wheelchair. I'm all about doing things differently, right? And so it may look different, but we get to the end goal. And so I'm really excited about that opportunity in this district to doing some things a little differently to get our kids where they need to get to be successful. I love the mission, writing success stories one at a time, and that's what I'm about. So it is such an honor, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Dr. Rentz has her family here supporting her this evening. If you all would please stand. And we'd like you to take your hands at the board.
We will now have the invocation by Tom Kennedy.
You stand, please, and join me in prayer if you're so inclined. Dear God, we come to you tonight to thank you for the many blessings that you've given us and to ask you to be with us at this time while we open our schools and bring our kids back to school, and just be with our teachers, administrators, every staff person in this district to help them do the best that they can do to provide the education these kids deserve and need. We ask these things in thy name. Amen.
Amen.
And Board Member Joe Veracruz will give the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. flag and Texas flag.
I pledge allegiance
We now move to recognitions and commendations, and we welcome Ms. Tiara Richard.
Good evening. Thank you, Board, Dr. Smith. Anytime we get an opportunity to come together and celebrate and recognize those who are supporting our district, we are proud and honored to do so. So first today, I am going to call up Mr. Dan Jesperson. Thank you, sir. This is a face that I think many of you in the district will recognize. He's been here a while. He's been where you're sitting. He's the owner of Ben Franklin Apothecary. All of the work that Ben Franklin does throughout the district is just a true honor. From the 5K run that they host and support and organize and put all the effort into making sure that the district is recognized for that, for back-to-school activities, back-to-school supplies, just reaching out anytime that anyone in the district needs some support. They are always a helping hand and always a wonderful support. We don't always recognize businesses, but anytime we get an opportunity to do so, we're proud to take the opportunity to do that. And so, Mr. Jesperson, I want to thank you for that. We appreciate all you do and just the fact that you're just a strong supporter of the district and the community as a whole. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hi, Dan.
Hey, man, happy birthday. Thursday or Friday? Thursday.
Thank you.
I'm gonna do a photo op. But good luck as the community goes, the school goes, and it's all works together and school starts. I know the teachers came back, I believe, today.
Yes, sir.
Kids' eyeballs will be showing up in another week or so, so have a great year. We'll have a great city.
Thank you. Long way to try. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Jesperson. And up next, we will recognize and honor one of our own, Mr. Tom Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy completed a long and arduous process in becoming a master TASB member, a master trustee, a master trustee through TASB Leadership. TASB Leadership is the group that has actually brought together leaders from school boards all across the state. He traveled. He made sure that the district was well represented. I'm sure he said he learned a lot, got a lot of networking and opportunities through this process, but more than anything else, he's brought that knowledge back to the district so that we're stronger, so that we grow and we become better as we move forward. So, Mr. Kennedy, I wanted to thank you for that honor. Thank you for doing that and representing the district so well. Would you mind coming down and receiving your certificate?
I'll just take this opportunity to thank Dr. Smith and for his support in helping me get involved in this program. And it was a good program. I understand another one of our board members has been accepted for next year, and that's exciting. And maybe eventually everybody will have an opportunity. But the best part of what I did actually was to get to visit other districts throughout the state and to meet with 35 other board members from around the state and develop a system of networking where we can call each other and rely on each other for guidance and help. And these are really super fine people. Most of them were younger than me, I'll admit that, but we still had a great time. And I went to one town, McAllen, Texas, and visited school districts there. And it always amazes me to see what some small districts that don't have as much as other districts can do when they put their mind to what they want to do. They had a three-year-old kindergarten there that it was just to me, it was all inspiring to go and watch these little kids perform and do the things they do. So I thank you, Dr. Smith, for allowing me to do that and providing the funds for it. And I enjoyed it. It was a great time, and I appreciate the opportunity to have done it.
Thank you.
And that concludes our recognitions.
Thank you, Ms. Richards. We now move into the superintendent's report, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Smith.
Well, thank you, Madam Vice President. We'll begin the superintendent's report this evening by an update from Mrs. Andre Fields. She'll give us a bond update. So I'll call Ms. Fields up to provide that information.
Good evening, Vice President Savage Martin, board members, and Dr. Smith, and to the audience. It is my pleasure at this time to provide the Duncanville ISD construction and bond update. My first item I would like to share with you this evening is the update on the construction of Collegiate Academy. As you recall, we've been working diligently this summer to complete Collegiate Academy, and I will say, as part of my report this evening, the pictures that you are seeing tonight, you would go today are quite different, because these were taken at the time when we were preparing a couple of weeks ago for our board presentation. And so I want to share that the renovation now, in a 2-week span, is 99% complete. We received our final inspection tag from the city of Duncanville, and we're very thankful to them. A great deal of progress, of course, has been made since our last meeting. We had an August the 15th deadline, and that's tomorrow. And so we are ahead of deadline, and we're thankful to North Star Builders and the contracts that worked on this very important project. As you see there in this slide, there's the wood paneling installation. And of course, the time that we presented these were in progress, and since that time, they have been completed. Majority of the furniture for the academy was delivered at the end of July, put together, and now is in place in the academy. All of the market boards have been installed, and the market boards have been installed, the lighting, the final paint in progress. Right now, they're doing some touch-up work for the Collegiate Academy, and we look forward in the next few weeks of inviting you to come and share with us as we celebrate a ribbon-cutting event at Collegiate Academy. As far as the other information that I'd like to share in regard to the construction and bond update, of course, today was the first day of school for our teachers who returned, and so we had some very excited employees at the Acton Elementary School today. They were in their rooms, and so that work, of course, is substantially complete. We're still, of course, doing some punch list items at Acton, making sure that everything is working according to plan. There will be training this month on the new intercom system, the stage lighting, the sound system, the cafeteria equipment. A lot of that has been ongoing this summer, but we should complete it this month, and those final punch item lists are being completed. Under Safety and Security Package 2, and of course, the last few months, Dr. Smith has been sharing with you the names of those campuses, and that included Reed and Byrd and Daniel were some of the campuses that were a part of that, and that basically is complete. Of course, we're still working with security and technology to make sure that all of the door strikes again, because some of the older facilities have doors that sometimes don't align, but we have those things that are pretty much done, and those campuses have the card reader access available. Under Aging Facilities, Package 1, if you recall, last month we brought to you the audit report along with information about aging facilities, Package 1 from the Huckabee Architectural Firm. And so tonight, we're going to be asking for your approval of the guaranteed maximum price for the Aging Facilities Package 1. And if you recall, Board, the campuses included in Aging Facilities Package 1 are Alexander, Central, Fair Meadows, Hardin, Smith, Maryfield, Duncanville High School, and Duncanville Panther Stadium. And you gave us the go-ahead last month to move forward on those projects. And so we're excited. We've been meeting. The aging facilities work is to include refresh and renovations of the restrooms facilities for ADA compliance on these campuses, and also fire alarm and public address systems. So those will be a part of the aging facilities packages as well. Package 2 has been sent to potential bidders for the week of July 31st through August the 4th. The bid opening will be held here probably in the next few days. We'll get an invite from North Star to come and work with them on the bid openings, and the GMP for Package 2 will be presented to you, hopefully, if all goes well, next month. Package 2 includes 3 campuses: Brandenburg Intermediate School, Byrd, and then Reed. And so we'll be coming back to you with that information. That concludes my report. At this time, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we have a few more reports here. I want to provide the board a report on House Bill 22. I have a document at your desk there. It's the letter from the Texas Education Agency that was sent to me, I believe, on the 9th or 8th, August 9th, sent to me on August 9th. And it basically outlined the final accountability standards that are going to be in place moving forward. And so I want to give you an overview of that, as well as the expected timeline for the implementation. One of the first things you'll notice is that, it's another change. And so we have to continue to try to keep up with the different changes that take place in our accountability system. In last week's board memo, I also provided you some highlights on House Bill 22. And so here are the key takeaways that I want to stress for the board this evening. So House Bill 22 establishes 3 domains to evaluate the academic performance of districts and campuses. And so those 3 domains are student achievement, school progress, and closing the gaps. And so you may remember in the current system, we had 4 indexes that we were evaluated on. Well, moving forward, the state has now reduced that to 3. The second thing that I think is important to take away is that the rules have been adopted to assign districts a rating of A, B, C, D, or F for their overall performance, as well as in each domain beginning August of 2018. So you may remember several board meetings ago provided you with, at that time, what was a lot of discussion centered around A through F. I also took part with several superintendents in this area where we were challenging our legislature regarding some of the areas that we think were compromising in an A through F system. Nevertheless, we are moving forward. House Bill 22 indicates that. And so this time next year, all districts in the state of Texas will receive an A, B, C, D, or F overall performance rating, as well as a rating in each of the 3 domains that I just mentioned, that's student achievement, student progress, and closing the gaps. Campuses, a little different from districts. Campuses will receive their A through F rating beginning August of 2019. So they're phasing the process in. They'll first give districts their A through F rating in 2018, and then the following year, individual campuses will get a rating of A through F. Additionally, House Bill 22 establishes a local accountability system that will allow districts to develop plans so that they can locally evaluate their campuses. Districts will be able to use a locally developed domain together with the 3 mandated domains, and each one of those will be assigned a rating. So there still is a component for local participation, local involvement in the accountability system. So those are the key takeaways from House Bill 22. Again, you do have the document there that highlights all the information and the changes. In our district, we just continue to focus on the things that we can control. We can't control the various changes and the moving parts associated with the accountability system, and so you're going to hear some very good data coming up here a little later in the board meeting, and makes me real proud of our staff in terms of what we've been able to do despite the challenges that exist in trying to keep up with the accountability system. So that's House Bill 22. The next item that I wanted to update the board on was the board work study sessions that will begin. In a couple of, I think it was like in July, your July 27th memo, I provided you with a calendar indicating when we would start our 2 meetings a month. And I do appreciate you allowing me to push that back to October. In our original discussion, we talked about September. And then when I went back to the staff, you know, I guess I got a little presumptuous, and they said, wait a minute, we got to get school started. And so there are a lot of logistics in making this happen. And so we appreciate you all allowing us to move it back to October. So our first work session will be October 9th. And we'll continue to have those work sessions throughout the course of the year. The purpose of the work sessions basically will be to review and discuss the agenda items for the upcoming board meeting. It'll allow us to give the board a comprehensive briefing on each agenda item. That'll help better prepare you to understand the items, ask questions for clarity, so that you feel more comfortable with the information that you'll be voting on an actual board meeting night. And so we're looking forward to getting those meetings started, and as I stated, we'll begin those October 9th. We have one other report. We'll have our monthly finance and budget report. And I'm going to ask our CFO, Ms. Jan Arrington, to provide that information for you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith and members of the board. The financial and investment reports are listed for you starting on page 21 in your board book. And here is what you need to know regarding this month's report. Overall, the current year preliminary actual regular and recurring revenues and expenditures through June 30th, 2017 are tracking closely to prior year actuals for the general operating and child nutrition funds. The debt service fund comparison reflects large budget to actual variances for the prior year due to a December 2015 bond refunding that did not get recorded until June. Other than that, the regular debt service activity for the prior year is very close to what we have in the current year. Are there any questions on the financial report? I will move to the budget report if not. The budget amendment report is listed for you starting on page 35 in your board book. And here is what you need to know regarding this report. The general operating budget reflects proposed revisions to increase both revenues and expenditures in the general operating budget of $35,664, and that is to incorporate into the budget the grants from the Duncanville Education Foundation's grants to teachers for the 2017-2018 school year. Those revisions do not impact the general operating fund balance, and there are no proposed revisions to either the Child Nutrition Fund or the Debt Service Fund. Are there any questions on the budget report? If not, I will just give you a very brief update on the sale of the remaining bonds from the 2014 bond program. This morning, I was conferenced in on a bond rating call with Standard & Poor's Global and our financial advisor to provide financial information regarding a bond rating for the issuance of the remaining $4.76 million of bonds from that 2014 bond program. Standard & Poor's Global rating decision should be ready for us toward the end of this week. If that happens, the sale of the Series 2017 bonds is expected to occur next week. With that timeline, the proceeds should be available to us in early or mid-September. So it's moving right along. Are there any questions about the financial report, the budget report, or the update on the bond sale? Thank you very
No,
much.
thank you very much. We now move to the consent agenda. All items may be acted upon at the same time by the Board of Trustees. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I make a motion that we move items from the action agenda, A, B, C, and E, to the consent agenda.
Okay, Tom Kennedy moved. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. Are there any questions, comments, or discussions? Okay, to move those items up to the consent agenda, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion pass 5-0. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
A second.
Tom Kennedy moved and Carla Fahey seconded. This consent agenda be approved as amended. Are there any questions, comments, or discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now we go to the action agenda. As soon as I get there. And the only item that we have remaining is item D, 6D, consider approval of establishing a guaranteed maximum GMP for aging facilities, Package 1. And I think Andrea Fields, yes.
And good evening again. It's my pleasure, I believe, Board, you have these documents in front of you for the consideration of establishing a guaranteed maximum price for the 2014 Bond Aging Facilities Package 1. And as I stated in the report earlier, that on last month, we asked your approval to move forward with the aging facilities piece of the bond, and you gave us that, and so we diligently began work with North Star Builders and Huckabee to prepare for you tonight a GMP for Aging Facilities Package 1. As I forestated, this package includes restroom renovations in the areas of the campuses of Alexander, Central Elementary, Fair Meadows Elementary, Hardin Intermediate, Merrifield Elementary, Smith Elementary, and of course, Panther Stadium was added along with the Duncanville High School's restrooms in the auditorium area. And so tonight we are presenting to you the information. The bid opening was held on July the 25th. And Ms. LaTanya Whitfield Horn from Huckabee is here tonight if you have any questions in that vein. And Mr. Chad Yedro from North Star, who is the Vice President of Pre-Construction, is here tonight. And so we thank them for being here to answer any specific questions you may have. There was quite a bit of interest in the Aging Facilities Package 1. We're glad about that. And if all goes well, as soon as Wednesday, we'll be visiting with the principals about the schedule so that we can start working on this project. You have in front of you the information, and Madam Vice President, I'm going to pause now and have questions.
Question, yes, Tom?
I have just a couple of questions about the bid in itself, about the differences in the construction cost limits and the guaranteed maximum prices. The first question has to do with Duncanville High School base bid, which was about $1.2 million, and I see the guaranteed maximum price is only 200 and something, almost $300,000. And I was wondering why the big variance there. Did we just not find what we thought to do, or we're not going to do some of the stuff we said we were going to do, or what?
It was bid out with a reduction in scope for Duncanville High School, and particularly, as I shared earlier, the scope included the renovation of the restrooms in the auditorium. I think initially, when the package was put together, the 1.2 was for other things on the campus, and based on the walks with the architect and work thanks to our awesome maintenance department, a lot of the things that perhaps they thought needed to be taken care of, the maintenance department had taken care of a lot of those, thanks to our custodial staff and to you for the things that have been happening at the high school. So it was a reduced scope to really look at those places where we needed the greater attention.
That's great. I mean, for saving $1 million, congratulations to our maintenance people.
Yes.
For doing that. That's a great thing. My next question has to do with, again, the differences in prices. Just for interest, like Smith was about $300,000. It almost doubled to over $600,000. So we found more than what we thought originally. Or?
Yes, sir. And as you know, this is really targeting our aging facilities. And I know Smith Elementary and some of the campuses listed here really need some additional attention. And so, again, probably in the month of maybe June, perhaps, Ms. Whitfield-Horn, Huckabee walked the campuses with Mr. Paterka, who's our Director of Maintenance, walked with the principal. I did some of the walks as well, and so there were places identified that really needed some extra attention. And to bring our bathrooms up to ADA compliance, some of those places need a little extra work. They're going to have to do some things with the flooring, et cetera. So when you bid out, depending on how many spaces, et cetera. So those are the differences. And of course, Mr. Guidreau is here. He could probably answer a little bit more specifically about some of the details if you needed to.
No, the details aren't.
Okay.
It's just interesting to see, to me, because I bid on a lot of projects in my life, and you don't usually see
Yes,
those kind of
sir.
variances when you bid. I mean, it's the bid, and it's what it is. But then the same question for Panther Stadium. I assume we found a lot more to be done there than what we originally
Yes, sir.
had
A lot
scoped
more.
out.
Yes, sir.
It does have a lot of work to be
It has a lot of work to be done, and we
Press
want.
box would be nice if we could do that. So. I didn't say
I'll keep that in mind, Ms. Kennedy. I'll put that in my back pocket for future.
But still, an overall savings of $600,000.
Yes, sir.
Is significant. And
Yes,
it
sir.
can be done, money can be used other places. That's great.
Yes, sir. And included here, you see the alternate information there that because of the reduction in costs at some of the other places, we were able to add some other alternates there. You see those campuses, Fair Meadows, Hardin, and Merrifield, those campuses really need some attention to, particularly to those restroom facilities. We have a goal in mind, everything done in excellence here in Duncanville, and so we want those restrooms and the places where our students will be to be that excellent.
We appreciate that, and we all want to strive
Yes,
for
sir.
that. So that's great. That's all the questions I have, Madam President.
All right.
Okay. We move now to the information and discussion agenda.
We need to
The
vote.
first item,
We need to vote.
We need to vote.
I'm sorry, so sorry. Do I have a motion in regards to consider approval of the establishing a guaranteed maximum GMP for aging facilities, package number 1?
Madam President, I move to approve the guaranteed maximum price for the 2014 Bond Aging Facilities Package 1 and provide a notice to proceed to North Star Builders Group on this project as presented.
I second.
Tom Kennedy moved and Cassandra Price seconded the motion. Are there any questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor, raise your right hand. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now, we will go to the annual child nutrition report, and the presenter again is Andrea Fields. No, it is not.
Again, it is my pleasure to present to you Ms. Donna Woodard Thomas, who is our Child Nutrition Director, and she's going to present our annual report from 2016-17.
Good evening. To Dr. Smith, Board of Trustees, it is my pleasure today to stand before you to share with you some of the great things that took place last year in 16-17 in child nutrition. One of the first things that happened last year, we received an equipment grant, and it totaled $120,000. With that, we were able to purchase serving lines for Central Elementary, and then at Fair Meadows, we purchased 2 milk coolers. Last year, we also had 100% of our applications, our lunch applications, they were submitted online. We had a decor package that we started at Duncanville High School to change the appearance of the cafeteria. And then we continued to attend the monthly student council meetings at Duncanville High School. Taste testing continued, and we had a great celebration during the National Breakfast Week. And then we also had one of our employees that was selected for Made with Pride. I just have a few pictures to show you on some of the things that we did on last year. This is the new serving line that was installed at Central Elementary. As you can see, has the bright colors, fun, the cyclones. The students and staff were very excited. A part of the grant, the USDA looked at the aging facilities as well as the presentation or the information that I submitted to them. So this is the new Central in the cafeteria. This is some of the new decor that we've installed at Duncanville High School, and the package is not completed. This is at the East Campus only. Hopefully within the next couple of years we'll be able to complete out the East Campus and then start on the West Campus, the 9th grade center. During National School Breakfast Week, we had a lot of giveaways. We had a big promotion. This was these are some of the giveaways that we had. We had bicycles at the elementary level. At the 5th and 6th grade, I think it was middle school level, we had movie tickets, AMC, and then at the high school, we had the Fitbit Blaze. And in order for a student to qualify, they did have to eat breakfast with us for 5 days during National Breakfast Week. And then there was a drawing. We also dressed up during National Breakfast Week. As you can see, we have Jan Arrington and Andre Fields. We even talked them into participating. That was a lot of fun. And then you can see some of the employees that also participated. We rotated the costumes around the entire week.
That's cool.
Now, I do want to talk to you about the student eligibility and the participation. Over the last few years, we have seen a decrease in participation. One, due to an enrollment, and then also just students not participating for the most part. In 2004, I'll start with 2004, our eligibility for free, it was approximately 8,387 students that were eligible. In 2015, we had, it went up slightly to 8,438. Then in this past school year, we were at 8,489. So there was a slight increase in the free and reduced. I'm sorry, with the free. On the reduced eligible, we had 1316 in 2014. 2015, we had 1199. And then in 2016, we went back up slightly to 1217. Okay, one of the things that I want to mention in our department, with the decrease in days, we're going from days to minutes. That has affected the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program tremendously. In 2014-15, our revenue was about 7.4 million. In 15-16, it was at 7.3 million. And this past school year, we're looking at around 6.7 million. Now, those numbers are not, for 16-17, we haven't gotten the final numbers for child nutrition, but I want to show you that there has been a constant drop in days. We had 175 days in 2014-15. Then they remained at 175 in 15-16. 16-17, the days went down to 172 days. And then this upcoming school year, we're at 169 days. So this impact of days versus minutes has taken a toll on our program. And lastly, I would just like to share with you some of the information or some of the things that we plan to do in the school year 17-18. We do have new interactive menus for parents and students. If you go on the district websites, if you go onto parents, if you go onto nutrition services, if you go on menus, you will see that it's tied to School Cafe. And with School Cafe, you can log in, register, or you can log in as a guest, and you will find that our menus are there, our online applications are there. If you place the cursor over the menu items, you will have pictures there. You will see the calorie breakdown of each individual item. So we're really excited about that. We have ordered a refrigerated truck, a delivery truck for the upcoming school year, and we will continue to work on the signage for Duncanville High School. And then we will have a new ice cream, Hershey's ice cream. And then lastly, I would just like to share with you that all students this upcoming school year, K through 12, will have free breakfast. Are there any questions?
I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Appreciate it. Our next item in the information and discussion agenda is 2017 STAR Scores Update.
Good evening, Vice President Savage, Dr. Smith, and members of the board. This evening, we want to have a conversation with you regarding the 2017 accountability update. So we're going to move on with our presentation. The first item that I want to bring to your attention discusses the two following items: TA's academic accountability system and the accountability reports and how they were released to our school district for this year. So I want to go ahead and start with the academic accountability system. For the 2017 school year, that accountability system will have included assessment data from March, May, and December. So that information was included in the results that we just received with the district. Usually the way that our results come in, they usually come in about 3 or 4 weeks after we take an assessment. The reports start drawing into the system and we start looking at that information. TEA and Region 10 share statewide and regional results at the end of the late summer months. And then system safeguards are also reported in the late summer months. To be specific with regards to system safeguards, there are 11 different indicators that are looked at, and that information comes out at the very end of July. And we start looking at that in terms of looking at performance data and specificity to the different groups that we serve in our school district. In terms of when those reports are released, if you'll look at that information there, August 7th is when we get the roll numbers for each indices. As Dr. Smith mentioned earlier, we have 4 indices that we look at. On August 14th, which happens to be today, we receive final tables for our rating labels, our distinction designations, and then system safeguard. So that information was released today from TEA. Some information that we can look forward to in the month of October, November. We say October, November because the state will release it at the very end. Sometimes that falls into the first days of November. Will be our taper report. Of course, we bring that report to you every fall. That report will provide performance and assessment data. Will also include reports by ethnicity, socioeconomic status, and some of the other information that you see up there. So in review, we've gone over the accountability system, and what is encompassed in that system and how it's released to our school districts, and then some of the areas and how that information was distributed to us and then subsequently to you as the Board of Education. So if we move on to the second slide, we'll look at considerations of the data. 2 key things to consider when looking at our data review that are important. The first thing is to provide you some insight into the performance of students and how students, I'll use the English 1 example. We will look at the way the state releases information. We look at student information from 1 year to the next. Now, that's not an even comparison because if you're in an English 1 class in 2016, you move on to English 2, but we're not comparing the same group of students at times with the way the information is released from the state. That does pose some challenges for us as a school district because we have to delve deep and really look at our data systems and look at comparing students as they move in cohorts versus 1 year to the next. This year, if you recall, we've had conversations with you, and Dr. Smith has had conversations with you on the changes that TA has provided with the A through F system, but there was also changes made in terms of the structures of many of our assessments. I'll give you an example as you see up on the board. On English 1 and English 2, the short answer versions were excluded in terms of the information that was released in January the 6th of 2017. That obviously has posed some challenges for our teachers because we use these blueprints in how we prepare lessons and how we look at lesson design in the classroom. But when that information was not provided from TA this year, that does present a problem for us. Keep in mind also when I speak of items like structural changes, we're talking specifically about changes in the number of items that are needed to actually pass the exam. So if you go, for example, an exam that had 40 questions down to 30, now that exam requires less mistakes for our students. So these were the structural changes that TA brought forth to us and brought to us in January. So keep in mind that's at the middle of the school year. So that presents a problem for our school district and, of course, school districts across the state. So 2016-17 accountability status, here's what you need to know. Duncanville ISD's 16 eligible campuses received a MET standard rating for the 2016-17 school year. Now, that is the highest performance standard that you can receive as a district, and 16 of our campuses received that rating this school year. PACE received a MET alternative standard. Obviously, they're rated on a different system, and of course, Summit does not receive an accountability rating. Keep in mind the indexes are the 4 indexes as stated before. Index 1 is student achievement, Index 2 is student progress, Index 3 is closing the performance gaps, which is required for accountability, and Index 4 is post-secondary readiness, which is also required for accountability. Now again, the state did give us the opportunity this year of meeting either Index 1 or 2. As I get into the information, you'll see that we had 2 campuses specifically that met Index 2 but not 1, and I'll share those with you. But all 16 of our campuses again met performance standards for this year. So in terms of our distinctions, as I mentioned earlier, we did receive that distinction information today. I want to review that with you. Before I review the actual campuses, I want to bring to your attention how a school receives a distinction rating. Campuses must finish in the top 25% of their 40 comparable schools in areas of growing students, college readiness, and advanced performance. Keep in mind that comparable means that they're being compared to schools that are alike in terms of size, economically disadvantaged status, ELL, and mobility rate. So when you're being compared to 40 other schools, you're being compared to the schools that have those factors similar to our campuses. Keep in mind, some of our schools are competing with some very high-performing campuses across the state, not just here in the district. So when our schools receive a distinction, that's a major award or a major distinction that's given to our school. So as you see, I'll go down that list. Byrd Middle School received 3 distinctions this school year. Kennemer received 1 distinction. Central received 1. Merrifield Elementary received 1 distinction. Hastings 1. Alexander received 1. I'm sorry that says 2 up there. Bill Hart's received 1. Hardin received 3, which is significant. And Brandenburg received 3. So in total, we had 16 total distinctions for our school district across 9 campuses. So out of our 16 campuses that are eligible for this result, 9 of our campuses received distinctions. I think that deserves a round of applause from everybody. I mean, that's pretty good. So as we continue to have the conversation about accountability data, let's focus on the performance labels that the state is now using. So as you recall, in 2015-16, we had 3 labels that the state was using in terms of communicating results. We had the unsatisfactory, which was did not pass the test, level 2 satisfactory performance, which is the passing of the test, and then level 3 advanced, which is the passing and showing college readiness. So what the state has done now is that we have 4 levels of proficiency, and those 4 levels of proficiency are on the right-hand bar, if you see there. We have did not meet grade level, which would match unsatisfactory. And then satisfactory performance falls into 2 areas now. So we have approaches grade level, which is passing, but needs intervention. So we have some students that will fall in that category. We have the meets grade level, which is passing and is on track for in terms of student growth and for that grade level. And then finally is the master's grade level, which is the passing and well prepared. So the goal of the redesign from the state was to create a family-friendly report on student progress, specifically highlighting growth and improvement as much as proficiency, while giving parents a tool to help with their student learning. So we now went from a system that had 3 performance levels to 4, and there you have them. Another way that we want to demonstrate this to you, makes it a little bit more clear, is that anybody who falls in the approaches grade level, meets grade level, or master's grade level is on the passing standard. Keep that in mind. And then anybody who did not meet grade level is obviously they did not pass the exam. So that's the highlight of that information for you. And then to further clarify, we also want to explain that in terms of approaches grade level, and I want to use an example, approaches grade level actually encompasses the 2 areas above it, which are the meets grade level and the master's grade level. So let's look at the example there. So we have an example where we have 65% approaches, 20% meets, and 5% masters. Now, most of us would want to add that up and think that'll go to 100, but that's not the way the accountability system works. The way the accountability system works is that 65% of the students who are at the grade level, of the 65%, 20% of those fall into meets grade level, and then 5% of those students are scoring at the master's grade level. So the 20 and the 5 are inclusive within the 65%. Any questions on that part from anybody? Okay. So let's start looking at the actual accountability subsets for the district. So as I mentioned earlier, we had a lot of great performances from our schools across the district. And in terms of Met Standard, Duncanville ISD as a district met standard in all 4 indices. And as you see there, we highlighted the index target and then where we stand as a school district. And as you can see, in all areas, the school district outperformed the targets that are required by TEA. In terms of our high school and the PACE Alternative Center, there you can see the index target and then the performance of each school. So index 1 is the student achievement rating, which for the high school, we're right above the 60 mark. PACE Alternative is somewhere in the 50s mark, a little above the 50 mark. On index 1, index 2 is student progress. And specifically remember, this is the area that's rated in the math and reading sections only. Duncanville High School is above the target rate, and then PACE Alternative also is above that target rate for index 1 and index 2. Index 3 and 4, which is closing the performance gaps, again, both the high school and PACE scored above the target rates for this year. And then on index 4, college and career readiness, you can see that there's a huge growth in terms of the high school and then the PACE Alternative Center for index 3 and 4. Let's look at our intermediates and middle schools. So our intermediate and middle schools, you see the target rate scores there demarked by the red line. And then the index scores for each individual campuses. So as I said earlier, all campuses have met these indexes, and we would highlight Hardin because Hardin grew significantly in all 4 of the indices among our campuses. So that's Index 1, student achievement for all of our campuses. We have Index 2, student progress in terms of that target demarked by the red line, and then the campus's ratings for middle schools and intermediates. Looking at Index 3 and 4, again, as you can see, there's the target index score and then the individual results for each campus. The same would apply in the college and career readiness. I do want to bring to your attention the college and career readiness scores across the district increased significantly. That spells to us that we're doing a really good job of preparing our students for life within our school system, but also life after the school system, and moving on into whether it be college, university, military, or career tracks. The district is doing some tremendous work, so hats off to everybody that contributes that and to our board for your support on all of these initiatives. So when looking at the elementary school, so now we're looking at Index 1 and 2. There is the target score for Index 1. As I mentioned earlier, 2 things to remember. The state has said that we are required to meet either Index 1 or 2 in order to meet standard. If you notice, Alexander and Smith did not meet Index 1, but they did meet Index 2 on the second slide there. So they are at the MET standard rating because they met the student progress section of the accountability rate, and then you see all the other campuses for the district. In terms of the elementary schools, we want to highlight Central and Merrifield, who had significant gains in all areas this school year. And you'll be able to see that through their bar representations there on the different indexes. Looking at Index 3, closing the performance gaps again, all campuses met that rating, all of our elementary campuses. And then as we look at Index 4, again, you see the significant range there, an increase of performance for our campuses in Index 4, which in turn results in a huge increase for the district as a whole. And then do you have any questions that you'd like for me to clarify?
I have just a question, clarification, maybe for me, the other board members may know. The difference between student achievement and student progress?
Student achievement, student progress. And which slide were you talking about, sir?
Just any of them, just as in, well, elementary campus, just the definition of those 2 terms. To me, they seem somewhat synonymous.
Okay.
Achievement and progress, to me, mean pretty much the same thing.
So
why would we measure them different?
So Index 1, student achievement, measures the performance of students on all of our exams. So think of it in terms of how many students pass all of the exams that they're required to pass for their particular level. So in the elementary schools, we have 3rd graders who have to take a reading and a math test, and 4th graders who take a reading, a math, and a writing test. So it's basically how many kids pass the exam. In terms of Index 2, or student progress, now we're looking at math and reading specifically. So how did the students do from their 3rd grade year to their 4th grade year, and what was the growth for those students? That's the definition between those, the difference between those 2 areas.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd just like to make a comment if I could.
Oh,
I
yes.
just want to take this opportunity to thank everybody in the district for what we've done. Those of us that have been around for a while know where we were, and now we know where we are, and we can only see better things. And I just want to thank the staff and the teachers that are here, so you know that we see these things, and I personally, and I know the other board members do as well, appreciate the effort and hard work that it took to accomplish this. And this is fantastic news. I mean, to me, it just makes a world of difference in how we're perceived regionally, statewide, and especially locally in our own community. It's just up to us now to make this information public so people know how well we've done, and that, you know, we met standard, and that's as good as anybody else. And so nobody can ever say again that we're not as good as anybody else. And I'm real proud of that, and proud to be part of what we've done and for the work that you guys have done. So I just want to thank you for that.
We should clap for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Dr. Smith?
Yes, just want to thank our staff. It is definitely a team effort. This is really, really a big deal for our district, and what it means just for the momentum that we've established, and the hard work that went into getting our campuses the support they needed last year, the work that went into getting our curriculum aligned, in all the metrics that we use to analyze data so that we can measure how well we're doing during the course of the year. And our principals understanding the urgency and being instructional leaders and making that happen out at the campus. So it definitely was a collective effort, and there's just more to come. And so we appreciate that. I have one last thing that I need to do this evening. I want to turn it over to Kathleen Brown so that she can introduce our newly hired assistant principals for you. I know our assistant principals, you don't always able to put a name with a face. And so although they're not a position that requires board approval, I like for you to know who these individuals are. And so I still want to bring them to you each month so that you can see them, meet them, shake their hands as they come on to their new roles. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Brown to introduce them.
Thank you, Dr. Smith, Madam Vice President, Board of Trustees. Another way that we are continuing to grow in excellence is growing our own leaders here in the district. Last month, you had an opportunity to see or meet and approve of principals who were grown right here in Duncanville ISD. Well, that is continuing with our assistant principals, and so I'll take this opportunity to introduce them to you. First, we have, and when I call your name, if you'll make your way up, Ms. Candace Griffin. Ms. Griffin will serve as the assistant principal at Alexander Elementary School. She brings 9 years of experience to the district. She began her career in 2009 as an elementary reading and language arts teacher. And most recently, she served as a master teacher in Grand Prairie ISD. And we're thrilled to have Ms. Griffin as a part of the Duncanville ISD family. Ms. Griffin. And if Ms. Griffin has family here, if you would stand at this time. Thank you, Ms. Griffin. Our next assistant principal, Ms. Tawana Hudson. Ms. Hudson will be serving as the assistant principal at Hardin Intermediate School. Ms. Hudson joined the district in 2001 as a 7th grade math teacher. She has served the district since that time as a teacher and counselor, most recently as the counselor at Summit. She has over 16 years of experience in the field of education. She was named Teacher of the Year in 2010 and was a Spirit of a Champion recipient in 2016. During the 2016-17 school year, she also completed the Inspiring Leaders Academy here in our district, and that's designed to do just that, grow leaders here in Duncanville ISD. Ms. Hudson is thrilled to bring her teaching and counseling background to her administrative position and to continue to write success stories with our students. Ms. Hudson. Anyone here for Ms. Hudson? If you would please stand at this time. Our principal's here. Okay, Mrs. Elizabeth Hunter. Ms. Hunter will be serving as the assistant principal at Bill Hart's Elementary School. Ms. Hunter joined the district in 2002 as an elementary bilingual teacher at Acton Elementary School. She brings over 19 years of experience to her new role. Most recently, Ms. Hunter served as the Math Center teacher at Acton Elementary School. She was also a participant in the Inspiring Leaders Academy, and Ms. Hunter was honored as Campus Teacher of the Year in 2013, and during that same year, she was named District Elementary Teacher of the Year. Ms. Hunter brings an extraordinary skill set and passion for learning to the Bill Hart's family. Ms. Hunter. Ms. Hunter's family will stand at this time. I think I saw her husband here. Yes, sir. Mrs. Alicia Phillips. Ms. Phillips will serve as the assistant principal at Smith Elementary School. She brings over 16 years of experience in the field of education. She joined Duncanville ISD in 2010 as an instructional coach at Hyman Elementary School. Most recently, she served as coordinator for elementary English language arts and social studies. Ms. Phillips is passionate about early literacy. She was very instrumental in the implementation of guided reading here in our district, and she's excited about making a direct impact on student learning at the campus level. Mrs. Phillips. And Mrs. Phillips' principal is here to support her, Mrs. Lee. And last but not least, Mr. Terrence Chase. Mr. Chase will be serving as the assistant principal at Brandenburg Intermediate School. He brings 19 years of experience to his new role. He joined the Duncanville ISD family in 1998 as a teacher at Acton Elementary School. He later served as a teacher at Daniel Intermediate School. Mr. Chase became a counselor at Reed Middle School in 2009 and most recently served as the lead counselor at DHS. He was honored as Campus Teacher of the Year at Daniel Intermediate in 2009 and honored again at Reed Middle School as Teacher of the Year in 2013. Mr. Chase is passionate about the Duncanville community, and he's looking forward to continuing to support and serve with excellence. Mr. Chase. If Mr. Chase's family will please stand. And his campus. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Do we have any communications cards? No. We do not have any communications from the citizens. Being that there is no further items to discuss, this meeting is adjourned.